I'm Stephen DeMarco. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer over at Tubular Labs, and I'm here with Rich Calacci, who's the Chief Revenue Officer at Overtime Sports. Rich has got a great career where he's led companies like Bleacher Reports and Pluto TV, among others, to great outcomes, and now he's lending his prowess to Overtime and helping propel them to growth. How does Overtime define success, and what makes you successful with your audience?
It's a really pretty easy metric for us. When we think about success as it relates to being an original content creator, it really defaults to our community. And the community can be evaluated in a number of different ways. The 50 plus million fans and followers we reach on a monthly basis, the 100 plus million people that touch our content in the course of a month. And I think there's other metrics we could evaluate it, but at the end of the day, the way we assess success is through engagement. And that's where we've shown market leadership. That's where we've shown unbelievable growth. And that's where, we've really been able to say to client partners and other strategic partners that we're doing something different because our community is more highly engaged with the conversation that we're having, which is around the sports as a subject matter. But the way we define the conversation or frame the conversation and the way we include the community in the conversation, I think really sets us apart. So ultimately, if that's our litmus test, we have to assign a value to that, and the engagement rate that we see both through views, comments, shares, all the standard metrics are the ones we really evaluate the most.
So the word of the day is engagement. It's actually been the word of the week at Tubular. A lot of our clients are talking about the need to find engagement, and I translate engagement into relevance. So we want to help our clients use online social video to understand culture so they can be more relevant. And there's no better way to understand and shape culture for good than to really mine the insights from online social video and consumption and creations. So do you agree that engagement and relevance are part and parcel of the same thing?
I do. I think it's, cheating is bad in sports, but we do cheat a little bit in overtime in the sense that we're not offering such a wide panorama of content that we try to fix whatever the best recipe is for engagement. We really stick to our knitting and we stick to sports as subject matter. We tell different stories and we tell them in a lot of different formats, but ultimately the engagement that we receive, from our community of fans really signals to us that we're telling relevant stories. And I think that's reinforced in two ways, one of which I believe is unique to Overtime. In terms of the relevance, I think the opportunity for us to have a direct conversation by DMing our users reinforces this whole notion of relevance. The fact when they reach out and give a shout out to Overtime by name, it's more than just giving a thumbs up on the content or a share or even making a comment below, but responding to engagement that's coming directly from Overtime, I think is a differentiator. And then the highest valuation for us in terms of an engaged member of our community that expresses relevance is when they go into our shop and they buy our gear and they rep the O on the street, because at that point that's so much stronger than just saying, hey, I really appreciate what you guys do in terms of the community you provide and the content you serve. I'm now signaling to everyone else who may not be in part of this social media network that this is part of my community, it's part of who I am. And I think that representation of Overtime as being part of who you are is the strongest indication of relevance. The same way, you may wear a Boston Red Sox shirt and I may wear a Yankees shirt, which signals what our fandom is. Overtime gives a different signal, but communicates the same amount of relevance and the same level of engagement.
You think you'd be able to figure that out without Tubular? We have a client who said, the most terrifying thing for a CMO is to blindly guess. Are we helping you do better than blindly guess?
100%. I've always had the mindset as a chief revenue officer, there's things you control and there's things you don't control. You can always, you always control, your energy, your effort, your mindset, a lot of things through the process, even the price you negotiate. But there's things you don't control, and one of them are the tools you use. So whether you're building a house or building a social media business, you're largely dependent on high quality tools. And tools like Tubular provide an immense amount of value to us, whether it's revealing demographic data or geodata, data related to specific posts against handles, hashtags. That just helps us tell a richer story. And in telling a richer story, we build stronger relationships. So, while my relationship with Tubular is really important as a business enterprise, my relationship with General Motors or Rocket Mortgage or State Farm or PepsiCo is even more important. In that case, I'm highly dependent on the Tubular tools in order to do the job that I'm charged to do.
Last time we talked, you had a great comparison between the need for officiating in the world of media and the need for officiating in the world of sports. Can you play that back for us again?
Yeah, I think it just creates a better outcome. I mean, any of us who've played pickup basketball understand that when there's no referees on the court, there's a different dynamic at place. And I think if you try to get to the highest value outcome for any particular engagement, whether it's athletics or business, you need an objective third party deciding, what are the rules of play. And, that analogy was an easy one because I love the sport of basketball and it's a huge part of what we do at Overtime. But from a business perspective, us grading our own homework and Overtime saying, hey, we have really high engagement, we have this massive community and you really should work with us. I think while people will accept that at face value, it doesn't really get you to the finish line. And the only way we can get to the finish line is we have an objective, third party validating the metrics that we communicate in the marketplace that are transparent and informative and deliver a better outcome for the competition. Because at the end of the day, yes, we compete against other brands in the publisher space, but we really operate as an influencer, and that creates a whole nother calculation of competition. And it also generates more variability in terms of what success looks like. So being able to utilize Tubular, not that you want to run around Madison Avenue in a black and white shirt, Stephen, but the idea that we leverage Tubular to help communicate both to our brand partners and the platforms what success looks like. And that's not us talking, it's a tool, a third-party validation tool talking. That's extremely helpful to us.
Well, I think that the knock on officiating is sometimes, people don't agree with the call because they want to win the game, right? And that's the thing. We do have to keep, grade people's homework, but it's in a way that creates confidence so the whole category can grow. Because if there's no officiating, then the category can't grow, and then the players within the category are going to be stymied. So I think we do play an important role in the ecosystem, even though sometimes measurement is considered to be, creating a scorecard for some folks.
I agree with that statement, but at the end of the day, we still have to make business judgments, and they have to be informed by facts and data. And when you're watching a basketball game, you can argue whether or not that was a foul or not a foul, but the fact that somebody makes that decision allows the game to move on is beneficial. It just becomes a lubricant for the opportunity. And I think for us, we still apply business judgments to whether or not we think this aspect of a pool of data is more meaningful or more impactful than this pool of data, but it's still coming to us from an objective source. So while we'll still make judgments, and I strongly believe our brand partners will continue to make judgments, at least we're coming to the table with an informed point of view. So it feels more like instant replay with an official than actual real time. But the fact that there are real time metrics that we can communicate in a dashboard and help guide us along the way are as important to us as having data that comes to us 24 hours later or 48 hours later, or either through panel data from another source 30 days later.
All right, you talked about tools and needing the best tools for the job. I've been asking CMOs and some other senior marketer folks, as they're thinking about the next 2 years, what's the tool that you want? Would you rather have a magic microscope that allows you to understand exactly what's going on today in granular detail, or this terrific telescope that will transport you into the future and let you see around corners?
No, I think I lean towards the latter pretty heavily. Entropy is time's arrow, and I think being able to look into the future is way more valuable than having a deeper look at what you're doing today. Stephen, you and I grew up in a business where there was, analysis paralysis for a period of time, where there was too much data coming to too few people, and as a result, the whole notion of a false positive was revealed. And I think trying to understand where business is going directionally is much more valuable. And that's part of the reason why we spend so much time and effort and resources in building Overtime the League, because we're not trying to redefine basketball for 16 and 18-year-olds. We're trying to redefine the game presentation of the sport of basketball for the future. So if I can get a glimpse of what the future looks like in what the demand curve looks like, 5 months out, 5 years out, 5 decades out, that's way more valuable to us because of our growth mindset and because we're builders than trying to overweight the importance of understanding exactly what's going on today, because things are ever changing. I look at it, if I'm going to invest the time and energy and our company's time and energy and resources in a growth mindset, understanding what we're worth today is valuable, just like it's important to understand what a stock is worth today. But what you really want to know is what the growth potential is for that stock or that business is, in the future. And so if you have tools that better equip you, like some of the data we get from Tubular Labs to give us better insights of what our path of growth looks like and what that trajectory can be, and we can forecast that reliably, even though we're taking real-time data to do that, being able to project it out in the future is incredibly valuable to us as a business.